Hey everybody, today I am bringing you a Leghugger only run. It's a non-seeded run, and the only custom mode thing active is the ability to use two of the same skill at the same time, and every item except Leghugger is turned off. So let's just talk about the Leghugger for a second. It's not strong, in fact it's almost useless in every run. The bleed up time for synergies is not high, it does low damage, the AI on Leghugger is pretty unreliable, so why am I doing this run? I think that challenges like this, which are really different from playing the base game, are really fun because you need to think about how to get as much damage as possible, how to survive, which mutations to take when. It's really fun trying to overcome the challenges that the run presents you. Okay, going into the first zone, it's really important to talk about the Leghugger glitch. If you have a Leghugger and it evolves, any other Leghugger that you get from that point onwards cannot evolve. It will appear already evolved when you summon it, but it's not actually evolved. It will still have its first evolution damage and activation. Because the evolved Leghugger does double the damage of the non-evolved version, I had to come up with a way in order to not just have a level 4 evolved Leghugger for the rest of the run. I came up with the idea to skip the entire first zone, not even summoning my Leghugger so it wouldn't evolve. I would then grab a level 7 Leghugger from the in-between zones. This would then last me for the rest of the game, and I would change my second Leghugger for synergy usage. So let's talk about the most optimal build for this. Yes, you can actually aim for some sort of setup, believe it or not. My level 7 Leghugger, the carry Leghugger, will need bleed spread and damage to poisoned enemies. Bonus synergies would include something like burn or oil. My support Leghugger, which will never evolve, is the thing powering up my main carry Leghugger. It'll need something like bleed inflicts poison and then poison synergy as well to just make it a little bit stronger. So you can see me take out my Leghuggers for the first time, and you can see how little damage they deal and how long it takes to kill something, but this damage will go up once they do evolve and once I get my synergy damage rolling. I ended up deciding going to Toxic Sewers over Promenade, even though Promenade is easier than Toxic Sewers, but Corrupted Prison is much easier than Prison Depths for this kind of run. We still want to take every curse and every rift possible to get our little Leghuggers to be as strong as it can possibly be. You'll see in the footage, you need to keep moving, you need to use ladders, ropes, you need to hang on walls, try to down stomp everything to get more damage in, use everything possible at your disposal. You can see from the background clip, I actually get my second Leghugger here, which will last me for the rest of the game as well. Oh, there it is. And it's just rolled poison as well, and oil, which we can maybe do. Now obviously you want to try and avoid elites if you're cursed, but you don't really want to avoid elites in general. You want to kill them to get a chance at getting the invisible mod. So you can see I actually drop an invisible amulet here, and it's just so strong for this run, but I figured it's so rare that I might actually drop it. Since I kind of wanted the run to feel organic and consistent, I didn't want the run to feel like it was going to be automatically won because I got this amulet, but I figured since I decided to go the Hand of the King route, I would keep it, because the last biome is going to be much harder to do than say Dracula's Castle. Almost all the monsters in the last biome are really difficult to handle in this run, but Dracula's Castle on the other hand has much more manageable enemies. However, you will see with a lot of biomes, I don't just try to cheese with the amulet too much, and instead I opt to clear most of the zones. You also can't cheese it to the extreme either. When you're in combat for about 5 seconds, it will just throw you out of invisibility, and it also doesn't work against elites or bosses. It's 100% possible to do the run without an invis amulet though. On my first ever attempt of this run, I got to the end of the last biome before I ended up dying. So getting to the end of Corrupted Prison, I'm getting pretty confident here. I'm going to get a lot of damage in the next biome, and things are going to be dying much quicker. A big problem however is malaise. Through the run, I tried to go as quick as I can wherever possible, but it's inevitably going to be quite high still. However, if I can get through Ramparts, it means I have access to a malaise potion, and also, if I kill the first boss, it's going to lower my malaise a lot. So since we got to Ramparts, we now have access to all 3 mutations. There aren't many mutations that are actually that useful for this kind of run. I decided that I was always going to take Gastronomy first, because you're inevitably going to take some damage no matter how well you play. It also gives you access to a little bit of damage if you don't need the HP, although I'm not even sure if the damage works on Leghuggers, as it appears as if the double damage mod does not apply to the Leghugger damage. Next is No Mercy, helps early game with things dying a bit quicker, and finally we pick up Crow's Foot and Ramparts. really useful for slows, it does not break invisibility, and you can also pair it with frostbite if you really want to. I chose not to on purpose though, because I wanted the highlight to be Leghuggers, and I didn't want to use frostbite for extra damage and for it to end up to be a frostbite run instead of a Leghugger run. No matter how well you plan though, some unfortunate things are always going to happen, a little bit like this. That was too close. I wasn't really concerned much about bosses as I was for biomes. I was pretty confident in my ability to kill them, but the danger comes in them draining your health potions. I wasn't really scared about Concierge, but Timekeeper and Hand of the King, they may drag on a little bit long, so I was scared about losing maybe a health potion on each fight, and that was really the scariest part. I was afraid of not having enough health potions to just get me through the game in general. I know the last biome's going to be pretty difficult, and then the last boss is also going to drag on for a while. I had the idea to flawless the first boss and use a legendary Leghugger, but then I would never get poisoned to proc for my carry Leghugger, meaning it would just end up being less damage anyway, as the legendary Leghugger would never evolve. So after the first boss, I needed to decide where I was going next. I ended up deciding on Stilt Village instead of Sepulchre or Sanctuary, because for Stilt Village you can just skip so much of it. I also think the mobs are way easier to deal with this kind of run. The other two zones have guaranteed curses, which are really dangerous for this kind of run, and Stilt Village also has a guaranteed food shop. There were just so many reasons to pick it over the other ones. You'll see me early game use the Homunculus rune a fair bit to get some extra damage on mobs out. Late game, this isn't really that necessary with a few exceptions, as you get a lot of damage late game versus early game, and the Leghuggers can handle things by themselves by the end of the game. Homunculus rune will often put you in danger if you miss with it. It'll leave you vulnerable until you either recall it or attach it to a monster. It can also be really useful against kamikazes as they don't get attacked by your Leghuggers. Also, I just wanted to mention a couple of things in regards to the mechanics of Leghuggers. I mentioned before their AI is really bad. You can easily waste their activation by using it when mobs are nearby, but the Leghuggers aren't actually next to the mob and then it ends up doing nothing. There were also so many occasions where they would just do nothing and I didn't understand why. There would be a mob right next to them and it would take them up to 5 seconds to react. There were ways where I could get them to be more consistent though. If you bring a Leghugger to a specific platform and then go on a wall or on a ladder, it will not change the platform that the Leghugger goes to. It will consistently hit things on the last platform that you stepped on. So you may often see me in the video, if I jump off a platform, I'll try to do as many jumps as possible so the Leghuggers will stay on the same platform for as long as possible. So next we're going to Clock Tower, and I'm not really worried about anything here at all. Pretty easy mobs. I'd say the thing I was worried about most were the traps, and that's not really that big a deal. What made this zone even easier is the invisibility amulet. It really just allowed me to zoom through the whole zone, and I done it really quick. I would say though that the layout can be annoying here, as you have a bunch of short platforms which don't really allow your Leghugger to do much DPS if you're also trying to dodge all the attacks and all the bombs, etc. You'll often see me try to find a long platform in order to maneuver and get my Leghuggers to actually kill the mobs. And after Clock Tower, we have our second boss fight, Timekeeper. And Timekeeper feels really strange to fight with only 2 Leghuggers, which might sound obvious, but Concierge is such a pushover that there was no stress involved at all in the fight. However, with Timekeeper, you don't really have any tools to help you out. Even my crow's foot slows are doing nothing. It's just a waiting game, and honestly the Leghuggers aren't even doing the worst damage in the world, but I feel as if I was not really dodging that well, and just playing worse in general, just because of the stress of knowing that I had nothing to help me out. I kinda felt naked in the fight. I switched up my mutations for the fight, and I wanted to see if Instinct of the Master of Arms worked with the crits that the Leghuggers do, but I ended up not paying attention, and I had to take it on Hand of the King to check if it worked. But it definitely does not work. Even though I do take quite a bit of damage in the fight, I definitely think that I could have done this better in the future. No matter what endgame boss I decided to go with, I would definitely do Timekeeper again. The other 2 second bosses would be much harder. We procced our disengage, but I was trying to save my health potion because I can now take extended healing and heal up to full with a health potion. After we're done healing up to full, we just switch mutations again. Then we're ready to go to High Peak Castle. Although harder than Clock Tower, I would say that it's not really that much harder. I wasn't really worried about any mobs in here except maybe demons, but with the exception of demons, I was pretty sure that everything would go smoothly. My plan here was just to rush the 3 keys and just skip everything possible while collecting all the scrolls. I didn't need any money for any item reforges, and I had enough money for mutation resets and the upcoming food shop. However, I could have possibly tried to get every piece of gold possible and used the gold plating mutation for the last boss. At this point, my number one priority is to try not use any health pots. I'm trying my best not to take any damage because I'm pretty sure I'll probably need 1 health pot for Hand of the King. As I said previously, even though I'm confident with the bosses, there's usually always like a couple things that go wrong in the boss fights, just because you don't have any tools and they take a little bit of time. So just as I begin this fight with Hand of the King, I want to point out that 2 of my mutations are actually doing nothing here, because Instinct doesn't work with Leghuggers, and the Crow's Foot does not slow Hand of the King, so it's basically doing nothing. I could have definitely chosen some more impactful mutations, but at the time I didn't know that they didn't work. But that's the fun with these kind of runs, and I would know for next time a more effective build to use. So one thing I realised while fighting Hand of the King is that I could pay so much attention to what he was doing because I didn't need to focus on firing my weapon or anything like that. The more I played with this setup, the more comfortable I became with it. The gameplay you see, not just on this fight, but throughout the whole run, is usually intentional when I'm dodging and what platforms I'm going to, etc. But yeah, back to the fight. You need to adapt a lot. You need to stomp the banners because the Leghuggers will not kill them for you. I was very specific about the order in which the ads died. I was trying to kite the elite away so I could kill the Scorpion by itself, and then kill the elite, and then Hand of the King would be by himself. And then towards the end of the fight, I actually got a little bit unlucky. I had to use both ice platforms, so then they didn't reform in time for when I needed them again, and I ended up taking a big hit which procs my disengage. I got a bit scared, I had to use a health potion, so it wasn't the ideal ending. I would have felt a lot more comfortable going into the next biome with 3 health potions instead of 2. But I still had an opportunity to get a couple of health potions back though. Before I talk about the next biome, I want to just warn everybody that the next biome is a 5 BC only zone, so if you don't want spoilers, I would recommend to skip this part. And it's finally time for Astrolab. I knew that this would 100% be the hardest part of the run. Every single monster in this biome was difficult to deal with. In the last part of the biome, the tower is a really confined space and it doesn't allow for much error at all. Fortunately, we have our Invis Amulet, which you'll see will come in really handy. So we got a rift, which is good because our scroll count is kind of low. But I was kind of scared about the rift. I didn't want to lose any more health potions or any health in general because it's just so precious at this point of the game. Oh. So that didn't go as planned, but we made it out of the rift and we can get into the zone properly. For my mutations, I'm taking Tainted Flask and Disengage. Tainted Flask is going to help us get 1 of our health flask charges back. And if there's anything weird that happens in the zone, anything that goes really wrong, Disengage is going to be there to save our life. So our damage is currently not even that bad. Even with their current scroll count, if the Leghuggers can get their hands or legs on a monster for a short amount of time, they can kill it pretty easily. The problem comes with invisible or airborne monsters. Leghuggers refuse to attack monsters that are invisible, and thus you have to deal with them in other ways, like using your stomp. The same goes for monsters that fly. You either have to AoE them with the activation of Leghugger by grouping them up beside other mobs, or using your homunculus rune to kill them. It was always Astrolab that I was worried about the most. I'd already died here once and I knew that it wouldn't be that easy. There's just so many things that can go wrong. Like you can see how I brought the invisible elite to get grouped up beside other mobs so I could AoE it with the Leghugger ability. But then a librarian sees me and then gets aggroed, and then a lot of other things get aggroed after that. It's just a mess. Bye! But yeah, like I said, easy for things to go wrong. Previously I mentioned how my scroll count was pretty low, even though we got a cursed chest early in the run, and we also got a rift in this zone. I think while on stream while doing this, I mentioned that it's the weakest I've ever been in 5BC. But although our damage was really low, our health was really high, and I really valued health a lot this run. There may have been a point where I would have chosen health over damage with Scrolls of Power, but I'm not too sure. Luckily, I didn't have to make that decision and the game chose for me. As I said previously, because fights are lasting quite a long time, there's going to be usually something that goes wrong. You're not going to play perfectly all the time, so having quite a high health pool just kind of gives you a buffer to make mistakes with. So we're almost finished up with this Astrolab biome and we're about to move to the final boss. I had a better idea what mutations I was going to take because of the previous mutations on the bosses that I was using that just didn't work. As I was looking through the mutations list, I was noticing that there wasn't really anything to take. I ended up taking Extended Healing and Vengeance.
We have one jump.
I was really confident going into this fight. It's a really well made fight. The telegraphs on it, once you're used to the fight, are really good. I did take Extended Healing because I thought that I wouldn't be taking lots of hits, I would be taking big hits. So I wanted to get as much value out of my healing potion as possible. It's kind of funny, because the Leghuggers are doing so little damage, I get to see phases that I've actually never seen before on this fight. I had never seen the spiked ball too much before. I've seen it like twice, and then I had never seen the fire pillars in the fight ever before.
Get 'em, boys!
The only thing I was really scared of in the fight were things happening at the same time. So the fireballs coming down from the sky and then maybe him attacking at the same time. So I was trying to look out for that. Again, the Leghuggers are doing all the work, so I can just totally focus 100% on dodging. It ends up being a pretty smooth fight. Yeah, this fight took a little bit over 3 minutes. Much longer than any other boss in the round.
2 health bars. You know what's funny? I never see this spiked ball. Like, even when I don't instantly phase him. I've only seen it like twice before. I've never seen these guys in here. Bro, you okay? Okay, he's just walking about for a while. Never seen these fire pillars at the side. Alright. Same, bro. Oh, wait a second. How do I get out his hand? Okay. I'm so glad the Leghugger could proc it. When I could only get out his hand when I proc the Leghugger specifically. So I was so scared that it just wouldn't let me get out his hand. Alright. GG.
I hope this run hasn't shown you that the Leghugger is powerful, but instead that with a little problem solving, determination and patience, you can basically clear 5BC with anything you want. It was fun figuring out strats and it didn't really take that long to get clear. I wish you all the best of luck in your runs, and until next time.